Between 1914 and 1918, inside the trenches of the Western Front, millions of men fought, lived, and died. Some made it. Some did not. Here are their stories.
Welcome to episode 69 of the Left Behind Game Club. This week, we play Valiant Hearts, The Great War. In it, the team learns about the consequences of war.
You're listening to the Left Behind Game Club.
Welcome to the Left Behind Game Club, our never-ending attempt to make sure that no game is left behind. I'm your host, Jacob McCourt, and today I have two friends with me. The first friend, you know him, you love him from his 5 other appearances on the show. His name is Travis Colenutt.
Oh, hi.
Are you here to talk about a good game with us today?
Yeah, sure.
Sure? And for the first time on the show, we have Katie Lesperance. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Before we start, do you want to just let people know kind of the games you like to play? Generally speaking, before we get into this week's episode of Valiant Hearts?
You're playing all sorts of weird stuff.
I don't think it's that weird.
No, not weird, just like all over the place.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to finish Red Dead. That's not weird.
Nice.
Red
No,
Dead
that's
2.
not weird. No, I'm just I guess you have a lot of variety of when you're like, I'm playing this, and I'm like, what? Cool.
A little bit of first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Mostly like adventure.
You're playing Dark Souls for a bit, I think, right?
I was trying to play Dark Souls. Please. I was super sick one day and decided I was going to try and play Dark Souls, and that was funny. Because I made it 1% through that. I will come back to it, but one day I was like, I have other games to play, and I could play this forever and not get very far.
Other games like Valiant Hearts,
yes.
The Great War, which is the game that we're talking about this week, developed by Ubisoft Montpellier, published by Ubisoft, released originally in 2014, but has been ported to literally everything. It's on Android, iOS, Windows, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Switch in 2018. Before we start on the game in general, what did you guys know about Valiant Hearts before I decided to ask you to play this game for the podcast?
Absolutely nothing. I had no idea. I was like, what is this? I have no idea.
I had heard the name.
No, I did.
I was aware that it's a game. If someone had been like, what's Valiant Hearts? I'd be like, oh, that's a video game.
No.
I know nothing about it.
No, I would have been like, is that a movie? Honestly, I wouldn't have had any clue.
Yeah, and it has been on my to play list for 5 years.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning it a long time ago on the podcast.
Yeah.
I was like a game in the first year of the podcast saying this is a game you wanted to play.
Yeah, you know what? I think I forgot that. Typically, I'm not really big into historical stuff, so I think unless it's war in space, I'm not really
that's
playing
not historical
war
stuff
games.
at all.
No. That's what I'm saying. If I'm not really into war movies
No.
or war video games, but if it's war in space, yeah.
What about war documentaries?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
He likes space stuff. He
Space
doesn't
stuff.
if it's fantasy or historical stuff. He's like, meh.
This is why it took me forever to get into Game of Thrones, because I was like, fantasy.
Yeah, he's like, why would I want to watch
and
that?
then I changed my mind.
Yeah, I had to get at him after a while there. Eventually he came around.
How did you play Valiant Hearts?
I played it on PS4.
On PS4?
My child, the Switch.
Your child, the Switch. I also played it on Switch. It was half off during the recording period,
yes,
so I think a lot of people grabbed
Literally, it was half off, and I was like, oh, perfect. And
Yeah.
then I think I only played it in handheld mode. I didn't play it once on my TV.
And I split it 50-50 between, I think that played the first half in handheld mode and then the second half on the TV.
Okay.
How did you find it on Switch? Because I had some technical issues that I want to get into before we start talking about the game.
I don't think I had any technical issues. I had a glitch once, but I think that was just the actual game itself. But technically, no.
Did it crash on you at all?
No.
I had the game hard crash on me once.
What?
Yeah. Did you notice any slowdown with the game either, occasionally?
Nothing.
Okay, maybe it was just me.
Maybe I just have a better Switch than you.
Oh.
I care for my child.
He wipes it down every night, places it up
lullaby.
on its station.
Yeah,
Yeah, sings to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And no issues on PS4 at
No,
all?
nothing at all.
Okay.
No, ran perfectly.
What happened?
Just like there was some graphical slowdown,
Okay.
and then like I said, there was a hard crash with the game where I was doing a puzzle and I did a part of the puzzle and it hard crashed out to the menu.
Oh my God.
And I'd never had that happen before. So
Whoa.
I don't know if
That's weird.
It seems like the Switch version was fine.
I had one glitch, but I think that was because the game itself glitched where like a wrench disappeared and then I couldn't complete a puzzle, so I had to like go back. Yeah,
That's weird.
when we get to that part, I'll let you know where it was, but yeah.
So if you had to tell people what Valiant Hearts is, how would you describe the game?
It's like a war documentary, pretty much. Well, no, okay. Give me the game starts very much like you're a character in a war documentary kind of thing, where it's like really it's going through literally every major battle of the First World War, and then and it's giving you lots of tidbits of information and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this is like, is this educational? Like, what am I playing this to like learn? And then it like kind of takes a twist in towards it's like, okay, no, we're done. It's just like set in the First World War, and then that was like a weird mood whiplash for me at one point. But yeah, it's mostly just like a game play with like a little bit of puzzles, and it's set in the First World War, and you play like a variety of different characters throughout.
Just like a 2D walk around.
Yeah,
Solve some mostly pretty simple
easy,
puzzles.
yeah, puzzles. The puzzles weren't like terribly hard or anything like that.
Do you guys play a lot of adventure games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
so.
played back in the day, like not like this, but like Monkey Island. I loved Monkey Island. I played The Curse of Monkey Island, I think, over and over again when I was a kid. Literally, I would just sit and I would rip through it in like 2.5 hours.
Oh, really?
Over and over again.
Oh my God.
I don't know why. It's like a kid who watches a movie.
Right.
And they get obsessed with the movie and
Yes.
they just rewind it and play it again. I wouldn't rewind it and play it again.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
a week later, I'd be
like,
like,
I gotta
I'm
play
going to
this.
play Curse of Monkey Island again.
Yeah.
And just play through it.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Oh
But
my
yes,
God.
so that was my main.
You're either like a LucasArts person, so like Monkey Island, or you're like a Sierra person, or you play Myst when you. So like I was like a Myst person.
LucasArts all the way.
Yeah, you're LucasArts all the way. Do you know the connection between this game and LucasArts games?
No.
So Peter McConnell, who did the music for Monkey Island, also did the music for this
I
game.
love the music for Monkey Island.
Yes.
It makes me so happy. I hear the drums.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, it's like nostalgic. I'm so happy.
Oh my God. I don't even think I know what this is.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, so
no.
after the podcast, you're going to Google The Secret of Monkey Island.
I'm gonna
No, the Curse of Monkey Island. If I had to say play one, it's the Curse. It's the third one.
Oh God.
the best one.
Do I
Yeah.
need to play the first two?
No,
to know
you do not. No,
Okay.
you'll
This is
you'll
like-
kind of be like, what's going on? Because he's like floating in the ocean
But
at the
does it really
beginning,
matter?
and you'll be like, who's this Governor Marley chick? But then you'll be like, everyone's awesome.
Okay.
And you'll be all in.
Yeah, same
It's so
as like
good.
Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, Maniac Mansion.
You know what? I'm not a LucasArts person because I didn't play any of those. I just played Curse of Monkey Island over and over again.
Did you play any of the Double Fine stuff too? Because
No.
okay, like Broken Age, Psychonauts. Peter McConnell did the music for that.
I know
too.
you like Psychonauts, all right?
I like Psychonauts
Yes,
a whole
you
lot.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the music for this game too.
Yes, the
A
music.
lot.
Music for this one's very good.
Yes.
And we can talk about that after we talk about the gameplay of
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah.
So we've kind of got into a little bit. It's an adventure game with puzzle elements. As you go through, how would you kind of describe the split between what you're doing?
So there's 3 or 4 different
think it's
characters.
Five if you count the dog.
The dog is a person.
I guess he kind of plays into the other person's
yes,
story.
that's true.
It's not
Yeah,
like
he
his
doesn't have
own
his
thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4 different
Yeah,
characters.
so Emile, Freddie,
yes.
Anna,
Karl.
Walt the dog, and Karl.
Yes.
Walt the dog has a name. It's Walt.
It's Walt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like the dog.
I know.
It
Yeah.
just made me happy.
I thought it was Walt for a little bit. I was sitting there,
I don't know.
and they were saying Walt, Walt, and I didn't know what they were saying. So, and then I found out it was Walt.
Yeah.
After, but-
Well, it's
So,
just because this game has that weird Simlish language.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Some Simlish
There's
and
words.
some French as
Actual
well.
Absolutely.
French. Yeah. Oh yeah. Total like words.
Yeah.
In French. Yeah.
Yeah, because
So-
we are all three of us are French speakers,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it was either like mumbles, which may have been German, but there
Yeah,
was some
that's true.
English
Yeah.
and some French, but it
Yeah.
was like very
Or
quiet.
like a word or two.
Yeah.
Not like a ton.
Yeah.
Vas-y.
Yeah.
Allons-y.
Yeah.
shoot.
That was a good impersonation,
Thank you.
actually.
Good. And then I think every so often Freddie would be like, "Hello, my friend."
Yes.
And then like,
Thank you, my friend.
"Thank you, my friend."
At the end of each day, a little bit. Thank you, my friend.
And each character had their own thing. Like
yes.
they had a
so they had
like,
their own story.
Yes.
Like you open up with Emile
Yep.
leaving his farm because he is there's Karl, who's German.
Yep.
Yep.
Who now lives in France.
France.
And he marries
Marie.
Marie?
I think it's Marie.
Yes, Marie. So he has his little French family.
Yes.
And Emile is Marie's father.
Yes. And then
So
he
they have
gets-
like their French family with one person who is German,
Yes.
who is like an immigrant. And then the war starts up, and then Karl leaves to go to.
I think he gets he gets sent away to war to.
Or does he get deported?
Yeah, Karl
Yes,
gets
that's right.
deported.
Yes,
get
because
deported.
he's German.
He's
Yes.
German, yes.
And then so he leaves. So then it's just the rest of the family. There's Emile and
then Emile has to go to war.
yes,
Yeah, which like
basically.
the beginning of the opening of the game itself was really tragic.
Yes, especially when I started it, it was amidst, more news of immigrant deportation, world news things,
Yes.
and it was just like, it's
Oh,
like,
boy.
it was really like,
Yes.
family's getting separated, and I was like,
Right.
well, this is
great.
some
Yeah.
way
Some things
on
never
topic.
change.
Yeah, literally. I was like, oh, this has happened many, many times before.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of on point
Yeah.
at that moment that I was playing it.
And so you had Karl and Emile, which we've talked about, and then Anna comes into that as well.
Yeah.
And she's a veterinary student that becomes a nurse out of
Yes.
necessity in the war.
Yes.
And then beyond that,
It's Freddie.
Freddie,
Who's
who
American, who joined, who like, he's like, I want to be in the war, and like, and then you find out more about his story as you go. But like, he is in Europe to participate in the war, to like help one of the factions.
I know, France.
I honestly, for,
I
for all the
kinda-
informational stuff in this game, I don't know anything about the First World War as much as I probably
on,
should.
man.
I know.
Well, no, it's interesting because the
it
people that
happen in space?
Ubisoft made this game or Montpellier made this game because they're like World War One is an underrepresented
Yes. It is.
war in
Yes.
games.
It's-
World War
yeah.
Two, all the
yeah.
time.
Oh my god,
it's
too
everywhere.
much. It's
Yeah.
like books too.
Yeah, the
Like
Vietnam
there's
War
so
even.
many World War II books. It's great. Like
Enough already.
no fiction, nonfiction,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
There's a billion, and
Right.
then First World War, not
No,
really.
not
at
really.
all.
Yeah.
I think Second World War is more clear dramatically.
Right.
It has like I don't know if that's why because
It
it's
probably-
easier because there's like
yes.
the villain and the good guy and
Right.
it's a better storytelling.
Where this is kind
thing.
of messy.
and it's kind of gray
Yeah.
and you don't really know what who. There's no person who's clearly in the right that
Right.
someone else is coming in to
exactly.
fix it.
Everyone
Right.
suffers.
All that you know from
basically
school,
everyone's screwed.
Yeah.
all that you know from school is like Archduke Ferdinand was murdered, and
and
that's
I
all you
kicked it
remember.
off.
I didn't even know that until this game.
And I knew that Canada was in it a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
I knew Canada was a part of it. And when it was like Canada part, it's like, yeah, Canada.
Vimy
And-
Ridge, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, that's really all I knew about.
I literally,
Yeah.
that's all I
war.
knew too, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's all they taught us, really.
Yeah,
Like in
Archduke
school.
Ferdinand got murdered, and that's what
Yes.
started the war. And Vimy Ridge, hey, like, that's all I knew. And what's cool is this game fills in a lot of the blanks.
Yeah, did
Yeah,
you guys
it does.
read those things?
I did.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So
I
they had
was-
a
yeah.
they had a partnership with Apocalypse World War One, which is a Canadian documentary.
Okay.
And that's where they found a lot of the different stuff that was in the game.
Oh, okay, because you would randomly be able to like. There's a lot of like additional things. Like, yeah, you would have the gameplay where you would kind of play as your character. You'd move through and solve little puzzles as you go. But then you could pick up items, which then gave you little tidbits of information about like, oh, here's a medallion that this meant this during the First World War or whatever, right? And then you would also have just random like entries in like, this is what this was in the war, like hard facts. Literally, I think the title of the section was facts, and
Yeah.
it was like
Yes.
just hard facts about the First World War. And I was reading these things, I was like, I didn't even know this was the case. Like, I clearly didn't pay attention in high school because I did not know any of this stuff. And then there was also like little mini journals off to the side that you could read about like the characters and like what they're thinking
Right.
and whatnot. So
Yeah. I didn't think some of the tidbits I found interesting.
Yeah.
Some of them I skimmed.
I think I started skimming after a while. Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have read them as much if I wasn't playing the game for the podcast.
That's right.
I think I read them more for that.
Yeah, I was reading
To
for,
be like, oh, I need to do all, like, I need to
Like, absorb
look at all
everything?
parts of this game.
Yeah.
I still would have skimmed them,
Yeah.
I think. Because it's like a little thing that pops up and it's like, oh, I need to read that because
Yeah.
it's telling me to read it. So
Yeah.
I would have read it. But yeah, I read it a bit more carefully.
Yeah, I
than
think I
would
read it
have
more
otherwise.
carefully at the beginning because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I need to know here to
Yeah,
progress.
if this is valuable.
And then
to
once
the
I
game or
realized that
not.
it was just like, oh no, it's just like tidbits of facts.
Yeah.
Then it's
and I like
cool.
facts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I read a
Yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah.
I read a lot of the like facts, like almost the postcards with the pictures.
Yeah,
But
that's
a
what
lot
I
of
was
the
talking-
additional items I didn't
Yeah.
read through
Yeah,
what they
I-
were.
No, the
'cause they're
additional
like,
items I did
hey,
not.
it's a urine-soaked rag
Yeah, I didn't
because
care.
chlorine gas,
Right.
and that really didn't fill in much.
Yeah.
No.
But the actual photos
Yes.
and loved that.
Agreed.
It was weird though tonally to have to go from like
Yes.
this is a comic book and there's a
Right.
bad guy with a twirly mustache,
Right.
but also people are getting dysentery and are
Yes.
getting amputated.
Yes, there's
Like,
a lot of-
what?
And all the
Yeah.
people in the trenches are like,
Right.
getting horribly ill,
Or,
and they
like,
were stuck there for months.
People
It's
are
like,
just
oh, great.
dead all over the place.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of tonal whiplash in
Yes.
this game where I'm kind of like, oh, is it playful? Is it fun? And then it's like, oh no, this is like dark.
Yeah. Are we reading a Tintin comic or
Right.
are we like actually getting a history lesson? Because I
Yes.
feel like the game didn't know, and that's my biggest issue with this. And I'm sure you guys share this
Mm-hmm.
feeling that tonally, I just like the beginning of the game is set up and it's really sad, it's tragic, families are being separated, and then like it's this
kind of-
cutesy like comic book adventure where
Right.
you have to go against
Go
this
get your
like
uniform,
German
and then,
general
like, it
who's
just,
got a twirly mustache,
Yeah.
and then at the end it's really tragic once again without getting into detail
Right.
yet
Yes.
there.
And I think that's what kind of threw me off too, was like I was cool with it. If it was going to be like throughout the whole game, you were kind of reliving these parts of like the war, right?
Yep.
But then I want to say at the end of the first episode, that it, you find the main boss that then you have to fight, and I was like, this seems kind of cartoony. Right? Like
Yeah.
it kind of like shifted because you were like literally using, I think, spoilers for the first boss or spoilers for the whole game, but whatever.
We are about to enter the spoiler room brawl,
Yes.
so if you are interested in playing Valiant Hearts, you should stop listening now.
Yeah, exactly.
Very fair. Spoil away.
Spoil away. The first boss is like he's in like this floating box, and you have to use the wind from like an organ piano to like blow him around.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, like it was very like realist for the art style. Like looking at the art style aside, it was very like set in realism. There was a
Yes.
lot of like, okay, you're going to war, you're learning how to do these things, you're throwing grenades, blah 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 blah. But then this was like, I'm using like the vent, like the smoke being like pushed out from like a piano to like push this box around.
Yeah, this organ is
Yes.
blowing him around. What?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think like tonally, I was like, oh, I guess we're going into like kind of cartoony.
See, the gameplay didn't bother me that much as
I
far
was
as
fine
tone.
with it,
I
yeah.
was fine. It every now and then when I went into the postcard fact
Yes.
things, that I was like, oh yeah, they're telling me stuff about the world. Like, oh yeah, this is set in the World War, and took me out for a minute.
Yeah.
But I didn't have trouble switching back and forth.
Yeah,
it wasn't
see-
something that really bothered me.
I don't think like it didn't bother me at first. I think I went into this game because it was set up so initially like realist,
Right.
and like I was like, okay, I'm preparing myself for like a game that looks cartoony, but it's gonna give me like a realist fact of like how World War I
Right.
transpired and stuff. And then we kind of went into like a cartoony side story, which then carried the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, that's fine. Like I was fine with it, but I think it surprised me initially, and it
Yeah.
kind of, like tonally whiplashed me.
Yeah, I don't know if the game knew what it wanted to do with tone, if it wanted to like
Yeah.
set itself seriously or like be this like that's fine. If you want to be this cartoony adventure where
Right.
you're Tintin, like that's totally cool.
Right.
But if you want to like be this real thing that tries to represent what the consequences of war were,
Right.
that's what my struggle was. Like I just didn't know what the game wanted.
Yeah.
Because they made a conscious choice to never show anyone getting killed. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but no one in a bloody way was ever killed.
At the end?
I guess.
Like,
I don't know,
gratuitously.
man.
Okay,
But yeah,
maybe not
but
gratuitously,
when
but
you're
I'm pretty
running,
sure people were dead
yeah,
all over the place.
you're running along with other soldiers, and there's bombs falling, and you see other soldiers get blown up,
Yeah.
and there's people laying in the forefront and in the background dead.
dead.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But it's a T-rated game at the same
Well,
time,
yes,
right?
it's
Yeah,
not.
there's not,
It's
like-
not like bloody limbs, or it's still like the animation is still cartoony,
Right.
so it's not hyper realistic.
Right.
But I still feel like there was people dying all over the place.
Yeah,
like, I
there
was
was a
like,
lot
oh,
of there was a
everyone's
lot,
dying.
especially at the very end. But we'll get there.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So each character has their own different, as you go through the game, their own different unique mechanic, right? So Emile, for example, he can dig with a shovel. Anna has this like Guitar Hero type like healing game.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know. I guess was that like her, I don't know, wrapping people with bandages?
Yeah,
Is
or
that
like
what the
she had a
idea was?
syringe, she was like injecting, or she
Right.
was like wrapping something, or
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
doing compressions. Or
Right.
someone's
Yeah. It was
dead.
kind of like with the person's heartbeat. So like
Yeah.
it would meet the heartbeat, and it'd say like for me it'd be like A or B, and then like
Yeah.
I'd have to hit A or B or A or B.
Which I have to say, side note, I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
That is my profession. Those compressions were some weak compressions. I'm sorry. Everyone is so dead.
Yeah.
She's not saving anyone.
Nope.
She is like tapping
She's
on their
used
chest.
to working on animals like dogs.
I
and
don't care. You have to compress a dog too.
Yeah, I guess.
She's not doing anything.
No.
I was just like, and it was a thing that I was like, I need to let this go. This is a stupid thing. But she did it many times.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, she's doing compressions again. Oh, they're terrible again. It just bothered me. And it's not like in a show.
Right.
Because in TV, they do bad compressions.
Yes.
I get it. Because that's a person. Most of the time, it's a person.
Right,
like it's
right.
another
Right.
actor, and they don't want to, break their ribs. So they're doing weak. Like they're like simulating compressions,
Right.
but not actually doing them. It's a cartoon.
Yeah, you can show me that compression.
You can crush them.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Break their ribs.
Yeah. So I'm like, you're not doing anything.
My thing was she always seemed to be pulling a bullet out of everybody.
Yeah,
from the
everyone
same
has a
place.
bullet.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah, you know what I was confused about? I think jumping forward, she saves Karl at one point, and she pulls a bullet out of him. I was like,
When did
was
he get
Karl
shot?
I literally was thinking, like, when did he get shot?
Actually, though.
Yeah.
When?
No, I was like, I'm pretty sure a
And
dog
Karl
ate
is so
him.
dead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 'cause she did nothing.
Yeah. He got inhaled so much chlorine gas.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh, yeah.
He was there for hours,
long time.
Yeah.
maybe a day.
Yes.
And he's still alive?
Yeah.
And apparently he was shot.
Cool.
Yeah, apparently he
Yeah.
was shot because you pulled something out of
Yeah.
him. Yep.
So game not realistic.
No, yeah.
And then there was
Yeah.
the dog.
Yes,
I did love
I
the
did
dog.
love the
And I
dog.
didn't. Okay, I realized that I loved the dog. I didn't at first. I was like, all right, there's a dog.
Yeah.
That's fine. When at one point,
Is this early on? I think I know
yes,
exactly
you
where
get
you're
up
going.
into you play as Emile and with the dog, and you're doing a bit of story, and then it switches to Freddie,
Yep.
and then you're running along with Freddie, and then Freddie sees because Emile gets stuck.
Walt gets stuck
Or no,
in the
sorry,
barbed
Walt gets
wire.
stuck. Yes, Walt gets stuck in the barbed wire, and I was like, oh, okay, Walt's stuck. We'll get him out. It's fine. But then Freddie sees that there's like
He's
the
in like
Germans
a-
are
yeah.
repairing a tank or something,
Yes.
and the tank starts
Sliding
rolling
down the ro- yes.
hill, and it's heading for Walt.
For Walt.
And I was like,
I'm like,
and I didn't know it was
no.
Walt. So I think I was alone. I hope I was alone, and my husband wasn't home. But I was like, but the dog! No! I'm like, Freddie has to do something.
Legit.
And that's when I realized that I loved the dog.
Yeah.
More than anyone.
Because that's how I think Emile's little mini chapter ended there, where
Yes.
Walt is stuck in the barbed wire
Yes.
and that car is coming, and then it like ends on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes,
oh,
that's when
no.
I freaked
And
out,
then you
yes.
jump to Freddie, and then
And I was
Freddie's
like, I
the one
can
who
save the
saves
dog
them.
now.
Yes, I know. I was like, fudge. I
Yeah.
hope I save the dog. Right?
Yeah.
Like. Especially like his little whimpering, and I was
just so
like,
cute.
Yep, and he's such a good boy.
He does everything
He
you
does
want.
everything you want.
Ask him, you could ask him to go under the chlorine gas
Yep.
and get you this stick.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, I got it.
Oh, I know.
Or go
And he
right
brings it
in
right back to
front
you.
of
Front of a-
enemy soldiers
Yeah,
to get
he's
a
like,
can.
cool.
There's
He's
one
like, I'll do that.
specific spot where he goes so there's like an elevator, and if you go up the elevator, the guy starts the flamethrower. You're supposed to put Walt on the elevator
I
and
know.
send him up, and it's like how it like you could send up. I think you're supposed to send up like a scarecrow kind
Yes.
of thing and
Yeah.
send that
But
up
yeah,
to
you
like
can.
trick
And
him.
Walt will do it
Walt
because
will
he's
go
a good
up the
boy.
elevator, and I'm like, I'm sending Walt to his death. Yeah. This is the sad. I'm like, please don't burn Walt.
Did you actually send him up there?
Yeah.
I did not send him up
You
there.
don't have to send him
No.
up there.
I think I sent him up
Why?
there because
To do what?
Why
I
are you
think-
evil?
No,
Do you
I
hate dogs?
I had to. It was to
No,
solve the
you
puzzle.
don't have to.
You
Because
do
you
not.
put the scarecrow on it.
Yeah, but I think I needed to send him up there to get something
Nope.
for me.
No, I don't think
Nope,
so.
you didn't.
Maybe
No.
I was
You
trying
sent
to,
him there for nothing.
I was trying to figure
You
out the
sent him
puzzle
there
and
for
I
his
sent
You're
him.
a terrible owner.
Oh no!
Do you have a dog?
No, I
I'm
don't.
glad you don't
Yeah,
have a dog.
right?
I know. I feel real bad now.
The most important thing is you can pet the dog.
yes,
I know.
Very. Yeah. Sometimes
And
I
he'll
would,
say like, good boy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it made me happy.
Bon chien. And
Yes.
dun, 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 dun. You just
Yeah.
kind of, and you can like hold that button, and he'll just like
Yep. Keep
pet
going.
indefinitely, and it doesn't matter.
If there's bombs going off,
Yep.
doesn't matter.
Yep, doesn't matter.
Gotta pet that dog.
You gotta pet that dog.
Such a good boy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know. I love Walt. Speaking of Walt, did either of you watch the little video at the end of the game where it's the Dogs of War?
Yes, and all the stuff that they did.
No, I didn't.
And all the roles
This
they
is
played.
like bonus content, right?
Okay, yeah, the bonus content.
Oh, I didn't watch something. There was the
Oh.
postcard
No.
that talked about it. I
Nope.
didn't see a bonus content.
At the very end, there's bonus content that you unlock, and it's a little video, kind of comic book that's like sliding around from panel to panel, and it's about the Dogs of War. And it's
I
about
don't like where this is going.
it's about Walt and his sister, and they were both two very good dogs. Blah blah blah. The war starts, and then I think they both get brought into the war, and then they're both really good in different fields of what they're doing. And at the end of the thing, Walt's sister dies. And it ends on like Walt finding his sister. Yeah.
I don't want to watch that.
I bawled. I bawled my eyes out. It was literally, I was done the game and I was already sad. And then I was like, I'm going to watch this.
Oh,
and
no. Oh, I'm glad I didn't do that.
No, it's so sad. It's so sad. I'm like, oh yeah. Literally the shot ends of like Walt's sister like dead.
And I love that this is a thing that is a weird, mostly universal thing, is that people are like, but the dog. Meanwhile, we're watching like a bajillion. Like, how many? I don't know how many people died in the First World War.
12 million-ish.
12 million.
I looked it up because I wanted to know.
Yeah. And then I'm like, but the dog.
I know. It was. So
I don't know. Because they're just happy and they just want to help you.
Even like Walt's like owner, his original owner in the game. At one point, you find his original owner. Yeah, he dies, and Walt.
Oh yes,
wants
the German
to like
soldier.
stay there, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't.
I thought the entire time I was playing this game because I didn't know anything about it before jumping in that the dog was going to die.
Oh yeah, I think I told you this.
I did not think that would happen.
Oh no, when Jacob's like, let's play this, and I was like, is the dog going to die? Because I'm going to hate you if the dog dies at the end of this.
And I was like, I honestly don't know, Travis.
Well, they wouldn't dare kill the dog.
No, they better not, and they didn't.
No,
I mean, there have been movies that have killed the dog before.
But
have there been games? I'm not sure there's a game that I can remember where they killed the dog.
That was like a character. I can't think of one.
I don't know.
Yeah, like Dead to Rights Retribution is a game I played that no one has ever played. The dog doesn't die. That's central. I can't think of a game where a dog got killed.
Where a dog is a character. Because there's like, like Call of Duty. Yeah. And dogs come at you and you shoot them. But like those are like,
Resident Evil has zombie dogs.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. But, or like Tomb Raider. There's
those crazy wolfy kind of
no, they're
dog. Maybe
I'm not
right.
sure.
Anyway, they're like running at you and you have to shoot them. But again, they're not a character. Like a character that you like and that you get attached to. Yes. I cannot think of
No,
one.
I can't think of that.
I think there's Apple Arcade just came out, and we're not a podcast about new games, but Overland is a game that came out, and in that game, your dog can die.
I was going to play this game.
You can't let he said can die. So you just have to be a good owner.
I'm going to kill myself.
Not
let the humans die. Keep the dog alive.
Right. Yeah.
I actually don't know if you can do that.
Because the dog will not betray you.
Yeah. But you guys just told me I'm a bad owner because I threw my dog at a flamethrower.
Because you thought if you think that that's going to go well in this other game, it's probably not.
Oh no, this is real sad.
Yeah. To move away from sad dog talk, can I kind of go through some of the different puzzle types in this game?
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
guys can share like, hey, I like this. Hey, I hated this. There were a lot of block puzzles in this game.
What do you mean by block puzzles?
Like puzzles where it's like you had to figure out, okay, here comes the pipe, and here's where I have to figure out the pipe, and here's what Yeah. Did you like many of the puzzles? 'Cause I found like that was my least favorite part of this game.
I think and
puzzles, it's the core of the game,
right? The core of the gameplay is the puzzles.
Yes,
and they were fine. I mean, I've played way harder games.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't expect a challenge, but I didn't expect it to be as easy.
This game was very easy.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
There was, I think, like twice that I was like, why can't I figure this out? I know it's easy.
Yeah.
And it was just a thing and they were like, oh no, you need to get the white wine. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's because it's very illogical, right?
Yes.
Some of the puzzles, I'm like, why? What?
Some of them I got. Like most of them, honestly, made sense. It was like, oh, you need to fix this car, and you can tell you need the gears, and like there's a gear over here, and most of it made sense. Every now and then, I was like, but then looking back on the white wine thing, I was like, oh yeah, he told me he's had a little speech bubble that said red, and it had an X across it.
So you knew which one you wanted,
and there was white there. I should have figured it out.
Right.
But
I just
didn't.
So there were tons of fetch quests then.
Yes,
it was like,
there was a lot of that.
And like I got stuck at one point. So when you're in one of the cities and there's a bombing that just took place, and you have to go around and save a bunch of civilians, so that they can move something out of the way, so you can get down to the ground to, I think, follow Freddie. First, I think what ended up happening was I didn't know which part I needed to finish first. I had grabbed a bunch of wire clippers. Mm-hmm. I grabbed a wire clipper. I had moved, but then I ended up finishing a different puzzle, and I dropped the wire clippers. the game actually like despawned the wire clippers, and I couldn't get them back. So I had to. This is where I had to reset that little section. It was easy once I figured it out, but like I was like, where do I go from here? Because I think there was a sign, a guy stuck in a burning building, and there was a wire, and I had to cut the wire so that he could cross.
Yeah, it would
like
drop like a bridge.
Yes,
type thing.
and I couldn't do that because I didn't have the wire clippers. So so there's like a lot of like these find the right item to open up this section and move this around and blah blah blah. I had fun with like the Anna driving game sections. Those were kind of entertaining where you had to like dodge stuff. I mean, I died a ton.
And I just enjoyed that all the bombs and the guns firing were in time to this music, like this orchestra music that was very like the fast paced
dun, 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 like that. That's not the song, but like that
style. Like that was like ba, da, 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 with
Yeah.
like the bombs blowing up
Right.
in time
Yep.
with the big parts of the music.
Yes, and it
and
was
then
good.
the gun like da, 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 was like the gunfire.
Yes.
It just made me happy.
Yeah.
It was just a touch that was really well executed
Yes,
that I
it
really
was.
enjoyed.
Yeah, for sure. And
Those driving sequences were also technically impressive.
Yes.
Because you're like, the rest of the game, it looks great.
Yeah.
Like, it's on...
yeah.
UbiArt is the engine that's running this whole thing.
Okay.
It's an Ubisoft proprietary engine. Child of Light was on this. The Rayman games are on this engine.
Is
and then this game...
Scribblenauts? Because this looks like Scribblenauts to me.
That's a great comparison.
It looks like Scribblenauts. The like thought bubbles, the way the characters move in, the like kind of 2D art style. All I could think was Scribblenauts. This is a game made in Scribblenauts.
Yeah, that's a really fantastic way to think about it, because
that's
it's like
how I thought.
2D, but it's like, is that called 2.5D when there's like depth to the actual?
Yeah.
And they did a lot of cool things with depth where like you had to move between different
layers,
planes and layers.
You'd send like Walt to the back
Yes.
layer, and he had to get something for you, and then he would come back through a tunnel to the front layer.
That's the thing.
Back to you.
The stuff with Walt and the gameplay with Walt, I think, was probably the most fun. Because, like, otherwise, like, I think I was just, you're playing as a
it added a layer to the puzzle.
Right, where you're picking up an item and you go to a thing and you do this one thing with the item. But, like, with Walt, you kind of had to manage two things at once sometimes. You had to, like, put Walt in place, control what you needed to move a lever or whatever, and then move Walt at the same time. Like, it was a lot of, like, there was a lot of stuff mechanically that was cool, and I liked the puzzles with Walt specifically.
Yeah, even when
Walt
you
the
were on
dog.
the same plane.
Exactly.
It was still
Even on the same
added
plane,
an
there was-
extra element that you had to play with instead of one person.
And it was nice that Walt carried over to different characters too. Like it wasn't always with Emile or Freddie or it was always he was mixing around, and Walt was generally always present.
Yeah.
To
he would go character to character.
Exactly, like
sometimes.
whoever was the main character at the time.
You said that this game reminded you of Scribblenauts.
Yeah.
This game reminded me of Castle Crashers.
Oh yeah,
Did you guys
yeah.
play Castle Crashers?
I did not.
I've seen
did not?
enough of it, but
like Alien Hominid back on like the Newgrounds.com days.
Newgrounds.
I feel like this was drawn by Dan Paladin from Newgrounds.
Yeah, because it's got that like kind of flat, like Flash animation-y kind of feel to it, right? So
and it's simplistic, and it's weird for how like complex of an issue this is, and then they're going with this very flat. The color is very, and I think it's deliberate. Like the color's very flat too. But that's what I thought of.
Yeah.
But Scribblenauts is a fantastic way to think about it.
that's what I was thinking about Scribblenauts the whole entire time. So. Yeah.
Did you have logical issues with some of the stuff? Because I found like some of the puzzles, like going into a safe, for example, the safe puzzle where all of the codes are on either flags or different pictures. I'm like, why would someone put flag? And I know it's a game,
I didn't
but it's
go there
stupid.
because of how it's drawn.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking this has to be hyper realistic or everything has to make sense. If it was more,
I found those codes. Like I didn't have to look it up or anything like that.
If it was more realistically drawn or something, or if it just the animation was just based more in reality than it was, I would probably have more of an issue with it. But I was like, no, this is like I'm running around in a cartoon.
Right.
Like this is fine.
Yeah, and the
so
codes are going to be floating around somewhere for you
it
to
really
find
didn't
it.
bother me at all.
Yeah, I think that it was more creative for them to have like the code on like a flag and then this and that, rather than like you found a paper with the code on it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, it was a little bit more creative.
Yes, it was.
Than like, you found the note that someone wrote it on.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was fine with it.
Okay. Did you guys want to talk anything else about the actual gameplay itself? It was fine.
Yeah, like it was fine.
I enjoyed it.
There was like funny little QuickTime events, with like I think when you finally beat the boss, like you're punching him and stuff. It's like this QuickTime event of like dodge and like punch and then stuff like that, which was fun. I think
it reminded me of Metal Gear Solid 4. You've played Metal Gear Solid, right?
I haven't played. I never played 4 because that was when I was starting to get weirdly nauseous with almost all video games, so I couldn't play it.
So
which was very frustrating for me.
spoilers for Metal Gear
That's
Solid
okay.
4.
I don't think I'm going to go back to 4.
There is the final boss battle is
A quick time?
very much like this final battle
really?
where it's a fist fight and it's ridiculous and it's really dumb.
Yeah.
And in both cases, in MGS4 and in this game, I thought it was very dumb.
Yeah.
Like it's like really, it's going to be a battle where it's a quick time event where they're just going to punch each other like Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
See, but none of the gameplay was action oriented.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wasn't like, well, this should be more action. No, it would have been
Right.
completely out of place in the game. So nothing was challenging, but I enjoyed it the whole. Like it was just pleasant.
And I think
I enjoyed myself.
there was enough variation.
Yes, there was enough
Because
variation.
You would have regular puzzles. You would have the stuff with Walt. You would
Yeah.
have the car chase scenes.
Yes.
You would have the stuff with the tank. You would have the stuff
Yes.
where you would be aiming with a reticle and aiming with the. I could not figure out where I had to shoot the one time. Like I had to look it up.
when they were like, go left.
Yes.
And go,
No, I couldn't find it.
I just kept on adjusting, and then I'd take
I
a shot,
didn't-
and then I
no,
would
I think
adjust again.
the game wasn't giving me any kind
You-
of notice that it was.
No,
Yeah.
he told you though, didn't he?
I didn't get
I
notices
thought
to say go
you
left.
would have to go like into a separate area and there was like a spotting like binoculars that
Yeah.
you could just look through and say like, okay, it's at 10 degrees.
No.
I'm gonna
There's
go
another
back.
one where there's like a pilot telling you,
Yeah.
like go left, and I was like,
Oh, yes.
yeah, that one I know what you're talking about, and that one was okay because I figured that one out.
Yeah.
But there's one where the pilot,
Yeah.
I don't think the pilot was spawning fast enough.
So you're on an artillery gun.
Right.
And
So
there's
you've
a pilot.
adjusted, and you think that he was giving you old directions based on where
yeah,
you were
and
before.
I was just kind of like confused, and I had to look up where to shoot because I was
Oh.
like. And he's like showing me a picture of trees, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm aiming at trees, and it wasn't like activating
But
anything.
he was like tree and like arrow to the right or something.
I was
Come
dumb.
on, man.
I couldn't figure it out.
Like I took a few shots. Like I was like, oh, that wasn't it, and I'd move a little
Oh
bit.
no,
and take
I
another
like
shot.
shot that entire
What?
landscape. Like
Really?
goodbye, like whatever village might have been living there because it's gone.
Sorry, farmers.
Yeah.
You're screwed now.
You're screwed now.
Oh boy.
Travis can't figure it out, so he's just
no.
gonna shoot you.
I'm just sending dogs to their death, and I'm just burning the fields.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, and then each chapter had like would bring in a new element.
Yes.
Again, nothing crazy.
No,
like where
for
I
sure.
was like, oh my god, I've never seen this before. But still, I was like, oh, this is new.
I thought
And
that first episode was long enough that then when episode 2 started quickly when you had
Yes.
Anna, and then it was like, oh look, there's like a medical aspect
Yeah.
of like doing this. It was enough. It was a quick enough change up where like I thought the whole game was going to be the stuff that you were doing with Freddie and
Yeah.
Emile at the beginning.
yeah, and it's
right?
like, oh, there's another person. Yeah.
Right, and then it kind of changed itself up, and there was like stealth aspects of it too
Yeah.
with Karl.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
trying
in
to
the
escape.
bushes,
Yes,
yeah.
and diving in and out. Like there was a lot of different
Yes,
gameplay
there
mechanics
was.
to this game. The more you
Yeah.
think about it, the more there was, and it's like no chapter.
No.
It feels the same, but no chapter played the same.
No, it wasn't super repetitive.
Right.
Every now and then, the fetch things where you had to like run across
Yes.
the area to get this thing and run back across, that a little bit.
Yeah.
But even then, like the art was interesting enough
Yes.
that I didn't hate it.
There
I
was
wasn't like,
one-
oh, I gotta walk all over this place.
And this
It's
game didn't
fine.
overstay its welcome, right?
No.
Like, it's a
It was
5 hour-ish.
five,
If
six
it was
hours,
like
yeah.
2 more hours, I'd be like, I gotta get this thing done now.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I'm done. But no, I think it was a good
There was only
length
one where
with
I
enough
felt
new
like this
gameplay.
is a dumb puzzle,
Yeah.
and it was at the very end where you're in the final run with Emile
Yeah.
through the like things. You can't go forward until you get more guys, and legit you just go back like 3 steps and get like one soldier, and then you go back 2 more steps and get another soldier, and literally you just had to like talk to 3 soldiers in a
Yeah.
row. It's not like you had to find them.
Yeah, there wasn't any depth.
No,
to
it was just like, why can't we just start the mission then?
Right.
You know what I
And
mean? It was like
The thing kept you moving forward because of the hint system that was in the
Yes.
game that I found was like really
it was a very
helpful.
good hint system.
Yeah, it was.
because it didn't give you too much. Like I'm like, I still want to figure it out.
Right.
It was I only used it like maybe 2 or 3 times.
I don't think I used it at all.
Yeah,
it was
I think
nice.
I used it maybe 4 or 5 times.
It was like it would give you a tiny hint, like it would show
It was
a
like
picture,
a pigeon with a message
Yes.
in an
Yeah.
envelope.
and you could get the first hint would be like a basic thing. It would show like a picture of the scene that you were playing in, and it would like circle an item
Yeah.
or something, or
Oh,
like circle
okay.
Walt and an item. And it'd be
Gotcha.
like, oh, just to get you started.
Walt needs to
And then
go
if you were
here.
like,
Yeah.
no, I did that and I still don't get it, then you would wait like a minute,
yeah.
and then it would let you open up the second one if you wanted to. But you have to say like, no, open it. Like it's
Oh.
not just like throwing it at you.
Right.
It was like,
Yeah.
no, you can consciously open
I
this.
never.
So then you
opened them.
opened it, and then it would give you a better, like a more
Gotcha.
involved hint, and then
Gotcha.
you would be good to go. So yeah, you were never
Yeah.
like frustrated, stuck. But I'm stubborn, and I'm like, I know I want to figure it out. So
Yeah.
there was, like I said, just 2 or 3 times that I was like, no, I'm gonna figure this out no matter what. And then I was like, God, fine, God damn it, I will open the stupid hint. And I was so angry, but then I was like, Thank you.
But I found like sometimes
Now I
it
got
wasn't
it.
because like you are a bad puzzle solver. It's
No.
because the solution itself is illogical.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
just
I
not
could see
super
that.
obvious.
Yeah.
Most of it was pretty logical.
Yeah.
There was a
Every
few-
now and then there was
yeah.
something that was like, oh, I have to grab that thing.
Yeah, like I didn't get the safe one for a long time
Yeah.
because I
Right.
just didn't understand that, like, I have to actually
Oh, no, yeah, I
look
got
at the different pictures and the order they're in
Yeah.
and then the number next to
Right.
them and then actually use this. Like, I just,
That I got just because I saw one of them and it was like 2 and it had like a 6 on it. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's got to be something.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen anything like that before. So
right. That was
it
the
has
first
to
time I
be
think the game introduced something like that.
Yeah.
or it's like, hey, there's this historic church and you have to destroy the bell in the church to proceed. What?
Yeah, that was odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known had I just not been
Yeah.
like playing the
But
game
it does
and like
feed
getting
you
there.
forward
Yes.
fairly well.
It pushes you forward.
It's like, oh, now I'm doing this thing. Oh, I guess that's taking down the bell. Okay. I'm not like,
right. What do I
after
do
a while,
next?
like,
Yeah.
what on earth am I even doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a part where I just straight up abandoned. I think I was Freddie, and you just straight up abandoned Emile or something like that, and like you just
Yeah.
kept going, and then like the doors would shut behind you.
Yes.
And then I was like, but I know there was an area I didn't explore that I
Oh.
should have checked out, but I think it's because you're supposed to then continue on as
Yeah,
Emile.
it moves you forward.
Right. So it's kind of like, oh, I guess I'm just going. And I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, I don't have like Emile with me. We were walking together the entire time
Yes.
at that point. And I was like, it wasn't clear that was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing. Right. So,
Yeah. Should we talk about kind of the major beats of the story going down to the end? Because I think the end is something that we should probably
Yes, we
talk
should definitely
about.
talk about that.
So I wrote a very quick bullet point of everything that happened, and it's very fast because
Yeah, go for
some
it.
of the stuff just very high level. We've already talked about everyone getting captured. So Emile gets captured once, he gets out. Karl gets captured once, becomes a POW. And then after that, what I kind of want to go down to is that after... do you remember the name of the bad guy?
Von Dorf?
I think the last name was longer than, or something. Von Dorf.
Baron Van Dorf.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, of just a very...
I thought like Nordstrom or something. Nordstratum. I don't know. It sounds like it should be way more
Nostradamus,
something like that. Yes, but like German.
Yeah.
I don't know what Nostradamus is. He might be German.
So after Van Dorf is dead, and after Karl saves his wife and whatever, Emile is forced to go back to the war.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's when something like really interesting happens. You alluded to it when your general or your CO like keeps pushing you forward in
yes.
the Battle of the Somme, I think
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And you
pretty much like it's like the final level of this game.
Yeah.
and you
Other
don't
than-
realize it is until you're like, oh, I guess I'm still going with Emile. I
Yes.
guess I'm gonna keep pushing
Right.
forward in this battle.
You don't
Maybe something will
realize it is.
happen.
That's
No.
right. And other than knowing that, like, after looking up, there's 4 episodes and knowing, like, oh, I'm near the end of the 4th episode.
Yeah.
It's got to be getting close to the end.
Yeah.
But like, it was bombardment after bombardment and people dying.
Yes.
And like people, you're being shot at. You have to dodge like shadows of bombs coming at you and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. That was a stressful, like super stressful part. Like it wasn't
Yes.
hard, but it was just like I died a ton. Also, like the general kept like
Yes, it just made me angry.
I know. So
right?
I
You're
turned
like,
around and I shoveled him, and then he stabbed me, and I died, and I had to restart.
Yes. So
Alluding to the end, but like I did
didn't-
it prematurely.
I didn't do that
I did the
until
same.
it happened.
I was like, no. I'm like, can I just hit him with my shovel because he's telling me to go forward, and I don't want to.
And everyone's dying.
Yeah, and I was just like, ding, and then he stabbed me with his little like
Bayonet.
Yeah, I
bayonet.
got shot actually by him.
Oh.
So like, if you do so, again, spoilers. You get to the end and you actually strike him, and that's what kind of sets the final final piece of the game.
Exactly.
But if you strike him before you're supposed to, he will murder you.
Yeah, you
Oh.
die right then and
because
there.
he's like, keep going in this fight,
Yeah.
and your compatriots are like, we're just gonna walk out and get shot
Yeah.
and murdered. Why are we doing this?
I know, it was like that was the point where I was like, oh my gosh, did this really happen?
Yeah, that was more emotionally like,
Yes.
oh, how terrible it would be to be a soldier
Right.
in this world. Whereas you're just a person.
And I'm
next thing you
sure-
know, you're in a war and you're
Right.
like, oh, and back then when, you had the draft and like,
you had to. He was telling you to move forward.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to die.
and they're like, no,
if
this
I
is your
move-
upper, not management,
Right, but, like,
upper
Your CO,
commander.
your commanding officer.
Yes, who's like, no, you have to do this because
And
that's
it's
what
like,
I'm telling you
but
to
like,
do.
What is
but
the
this
point?
is a terrible
Yeah.
decision.
I'm sitting here thinking, what is the point?
Yeah.
Yes. Which
And-
is, I'm sure, how a lot of soldiers.
Exactly. Like, and so that's the thing.
that
I think the
situation
game did
feel.
a good job of making me feel that.
Yes,
because I was
absolutely.
sitting there thinking, like, why am I moving forward?
Yes.
And then I took myself out of the game for a second. I was like, oh my God, did this happen? Like, this must happen. And I'm just so ignorant, I guess, of like how it must be, you know? So
even now, I mean, you disagree with your commanding officer, I'm sure at times, and be like, why am I going to do this? And I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's probably worse because, like I said, there's the draft and you're a farmer, and now you're like, now I'm in the war, and like someone's telling me to run out into a hail of bullets.
Exactly.
And I didn't sign up for this.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, this is
and
completely
so it was
against
the I looked it up, the Nivelle Offensive. And there were like hundreds of thousands of casualties, especially on like the Allied side.
Okay.
And I'll just read it very quickly because it was in the game too. The failure of the Nivelle strategy and a high number of French casualties led to mutinies and the dismissal of Nivelle. So like they decided to do something else.
Right.
And that's what ends up happening in the end of the game is your commanding officer at the right point. He's like, keep going forward. And you're like, no, and you smack him with your shovel, and it actually ends up killing the commanding officer by accident.
And like, I think the game even says that like only about 50 people actually got executed for these kind of things, and it turns out that Emile ends up being one of them.
So okay, I go one of two ways.
Okay, as
far as how emotional I am.
Right,
I am either a cold stone dead heart. And I'm like, and I'm cynical, and I'm like, okay, whatever. You're trying to get me emotional, and I don't care.
Yeah, not buying
into it.
And
like, yeah, this does nothing to me.
Yeah.
Or I'm a weeping, sopping mess. I'm one or the other. Yeah. There is no in between.
Yeah.
So, and I did not realize that that I was approaching the end of the game. I probably should have figured it out. Looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, like the medical thing that you did.
No, I'm with you. I didn't think it was the end of the game.
No idea.
Either.
I thought I had at least 2 hours left.
Right.
So I don't know if it was the context of my life or what was going on. So I'm sitting it's the morning. Side note, I'm selling my house. My life is an upheaval. So my entire house at the time, we're getting it ready to sell. So my whole living room is just filled with stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're just moving stuff around. So it's the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have this whole day. I need to clean. I need to get rid of all this stuff. I need to get this house ready. I'm like, I don't want to yet.
Yeah.
I've got my coffee. I'm sitting. It's the morning. I'm like, I'm going to put like 20 minutes, half hour into Valiant Hearts.
Oh,
I got to play this game. So I still think there's like 2 hours left.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do this. I start playing. And then I'm like, oh yeah, he's in prison. Because yeah, he did that thing. Okay, I get that. And he's writing a note, and it's a very sad note. I'm like, all right, fine. And then one of the postcard things come up, the fact cards come up. And I'm like, oh, so I read it. And it's talking about how these people were executed for...
for rebelling and stuff
mutiny, not listening to commanding officer, etc. And then I'm like... And then the jail guard guy is like, come over this way. And then the sad music starts playing, and I'm like... No, this is happening. I'm like, this isn't fair. How? I'm like, but he didn't do anything. He was trying to save his people. So I'm like, so you're trudging with the chain.
You have to control the steps.
Yes.
Yes,
you have to
I just remembered.
To your death. And I'm walking, and I'm like, they're going to execute him. I'm like, this isn't going to happen. But then it's becoming clear it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just from the tone and just everything. And
there's
the music.
No rescue coming.
No, you're just walking.
Yeah.
And they're like, come on, keep walking. And you're very slowly walking because your feet are chained together.
Yeah.
So you're just trudging along past all these people and past all these soldiers. And you're like, oh my God. And I bawled. And I don't know why. And I was like, this shouldn't be upsetting. But I cried.
Oh my God.
I was like, this isn't fair. And then you see all the people he knows as like that, and they're like there, and they say something.
Yeah,
like
I think
his daughter and Karl, and they're like appear and they say something, and then they fade away as you walk past them.
Yeah.
And I was so upset.
Oh my God.
And then they shoot him.
Yep.
And I was just crying
and
on
then
my
it's just
couch.
like a sad letter, like yep.
So I'm just sitting on my couch. And I was like, this wasn't supposed to be the end. And I just cried.
Oh my God.
And I felt like such a sap.
And see, like, people know that, like, I'm usually the sap that if there's something
you
sad,
felt
I
nothing?
cry. I felt nothing.
What? Yes.
Because
I even
felt
got
like
emotional.
I felt like it wasn't earned, and like
I know it wasn't, but I don't know why.
I was
It
more
just got
angry.
me.
I'm like, what? Are you seriously gonna like?
I
do
was
this?
angry, sad.
Yeah, I was angry. I wasn't sad because it wasn't
Yeah,
earned.
I get
If
it.
it's earned, I will be a ball of muck and I will cry my eyes out. But in this case, it just wasn't earned to me, and I'm just like, no, this is stupid. Like I
Because
feel
you know
terribly for the
what?
people that it happened to, but I'm just like, no.
War isn't fair.
It's not fair,
Oh,
and
boy.
stuff just happens.
You just learned
Next
your lesson.
thing you know, you hit your commanding officer with a shovel,
And
then
you
you're
dead.
gonna die.
Yep.
And it's
War
not
is
fair.
not fair. And this is what I think it's supposed to teach you. I think it's actually
Literally,
like joking
you're trying
aside.
to help, and you're
literally, I
saving
think that's supposed to
yourself.
be the thing.
You're
Yeah.
saving yourself and the other soldiers
Yes.
who are also being sent to their death. And
Yeah.
you're like, no, we're not going to die for this.
He
at this
sacrificed
moment.
himself to do that.
And then he's killed.
Yep.
So he's a martyr,
Yes,
and it's fine.
It's not. It's fine. It happens, but no, it's not fine.
Am I a terrible, heartless human being right
No,
now?
no.
It's a story, and I just
'cause
felt like it wasn't earned.
Another day, I might have been a cold stone heart. I
Yeah.
don't know, but that day, it just got me.
Yeah.
And I just sat, and it was like 10 a.m. and I'm just crying on my couch.
Yep.
Which was great. It was awesome.
How did you react? Because I'm a stone heart. She was just a ball
I was
of
probably
tears.
like
In the middle.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of had a sense this was the end just because of like the sheer bombardment and of the final like level there.
Yeah.
And then do you save Karl after that?
No, Karl is
Before.
saved right
Before that.
Or no,
Right before that.
It was after the bombardment, though. It's between the bombardment
and then the
where you hit the commanding officer.
yes.
Then you go to
Then
Anna. You save
Anna,
Karl.
You save Karl,
'cause-
and then yeah.
yes, that was the last thing I.
Yes,
section I
because
played.
you play as
And then you
Anna
save
first,
Karl.
and then you jump towards
Emile
the
in
prison
the
thing.
prison,
Yes,
yes.
and then I was like, this may be the end because like Karl is home free. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? I was kind of like, there was a lot of stuff that just felt like it was wrapping up,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt it was coming, and then I was like, and at the very end, I was like, is there something that's going to stop him from being shot? Like
Yeah.
a last minute, like, oh no, don't
No.
do it. And I was like, no, this game is going to do it.
Yep.
So like I think I was mentally prepared for it. I got a little teary eyed. It wasn't until I then
dogs.
watched the bonus dog thing where I was like, oh
you were
no.
like the person doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
the dogs.
The dogs. Yeah, so I did that. So
So that's kind of the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about sound really quick, and then
Yes.
I think we've kind of talked about everything through the game. The music for me was a highlight, and I
Yes.
feel like it
Yeah.
it fit perfectly.
Yes, it did. The one thing that you'd be playing the game and it would have one tone of music, and if you hopped out to the menu, it would switch radically to that
like,
slow piano sad
it
music.
reminded me of when you're playing the original Sims and you're building. You've got the like you're here. I'm buying stuff and it's like
Yeah.
da-na-na-na-na, and it's like
Yeah.
fun. And then all of a sudden you're building and it's like this sad piano melody.
Yeah, I found
Yes,
I
exactly.
found that a little jarring.
Yeah, I
that was
felt-
the only thing with the music
Yeah.
that kind of bothered me is because depending, you could be in the middle of the car thing where it's got the
Yes.
the fast paced
And then you
orchestra,
pause and then-
for some reason I pause it, and yeah, it's like do do
Yeah.
do, and I'm like, that's
But
it. Just
you
it was
know
just
what worked with that?
What?
The ending credits played
Oh,
that
God.
song, and I was like, no.
And there was just a little bit of voice acting too.
Yeah.
Okay.
It surprised me when the voice acting came in.
I didn't
do you
understand
mean?
why he was British.
So there was a narrator.
Oh my god, the accents drove me insane.
Yeah, I didn't understand why
That
the
was a
narrator
nitpick of
was
mine.
British for
No.
when they was reading letters and stuff like that. And I was like, why are you British? You're supposed to
No,
be French.
in between the acts, like from
Yes.
one to the other.
Yes, the guy's voice, yeah.
No, he had a nothing accent. He had a generic nothing.
Right.
Even though it's set, this is a random
generic European accent.
No, it wasn't European. It was nothing. It was like North American nothing, and it drove me insane. In between the acts, it's like
Yeah.
there's a storyteller guy who's
Yeah,
like
telling you
and
where
then-
you're going next.
And then Anna found them, and then
And
she,
that's where Emile
Yes.
found Walt.
yeah, something like
except
that,
it
yeah.
wasn't British.
Right.
It was nothing. It was I don't know what.
Yeah,
It was from like around like not a nothing accent because I know we all have accents,
right.
but it was like from like I'm talking.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's set in Britain, and then all of a sudden it's like all these people who are French, and they're like
Speaking in a British accent.
allons-y, and blah,
Yeah.
blah blah blah, or like.
But then when you would have like Emile narrating a letter.
Emile had a voice. And it was a different
Emile
voice.
had a voice, but his voice was British.
yes,
and that
what is
bothered
that?
me.
But then in gameplay, it's French.
Right.
That was
That's
stupid.
what is confusing to
that
me.
drove me.
Yes, it bothered me too.
And Marie or
Yeah.
Marie.
Yep.
Marie
His
was
wife.
British.
Yes.
She's French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does she have a British accent?
That's why I was like, I'm sorry, the English equivalent to French is not British.
This irrationally angered me.
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
Between that, in game, it was fine. But yeah, the diaries were not the right accent.
Yep.
And then the generic storyteller guy is just some guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you should be British or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, I
thought he was British.
No, he wasn't. If you go back and look, he is
gonna
not
die
British.
on this hill.
Oh, it pissed me off. Because I'm like, you're telling this like epic war story,
Right.
From that's set in France and in Britain,
Yep.
and all this, and then it's just this guy who's like, and then Marie picked them up and they went to Somme.
Yeah.
I'm like, who
Right.
are you?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like Mr. Rogers. It was it really bothered me.
Yeah, I
but
get
anyway,
it.
but
I
yes,
get it, yes.
And the diaries were wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you British?
I think. Oh, did you
Are you
find it?
playing it?
Yeah, I'm playing it because I need to know.
No, this is Emile.
That's
Yep, that's
I
Emile.
was gonna say that's not the narrator.
That's British Emile.
Yeah, French Emile.
I'll write again as soon as I get my
Veterinarian when the war broke out.
What is that?
Friends were only 20 miles from Paris when she received a letter from her father,
That's nothing.
It's just a man.
but implored her not to return home to Belgium until the war's end.
It's like my high school
History teacher?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
This was a history lesson. Did you not realize?
It made me feel like it was a history lesson.
Yeah, it did. With all the facts.
It's like
and
there's
stuff,
a
too.
show on PBS and there's a man in
Yes.
Yes.
It's some PBS narrator
Yep.
telling me about World War I. And I was like,
He's sitting cross-legged with a pipe on the
Yes.
side in a very big chair
and
in
he's
his
got a
house
book.
coat.
And he's got a big book open. And he's
Well, let
telling me
tell
about
you
World
War One.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but the line, some PBS narrator, is so much more of an insult than I think it should be.
PBS is an excellent station.
But like the tone of some PBS narrator.
I'm very mad. Again, I'm irrationally angry.
Yeah.
This isn't this big a deal, but it just, I was
Yeah.
like, the
Totally.
first time that it kicked in, I was like, who the hell is this guy? What is this? He should be British. He
Yeah.
should have some kind of accent.
They found someone on voices.com who,
Actually,
had a
though.
good rate and who could read things.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did they not have the budget for a British guy? Like, do British guys cost more? I don't know.
I would be even fine with someone who whose French was their second language because it would fit, or someone who
Yes.
English English they were German and English was their second language.
Something.
Like, that would fit.
Anything.
Yeah,
That's funny.
But the soundtrack was fantastic.
The music was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the voiceovers
And
too.
most
Even though,
of the voices were fine.
I liked the voices in the game too. Like they were
Yes.
fun.
Yes.
They were
I like
cute.
Freddie.
They were fun. Yeah, Freddie. Hello, my friend. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah, and then Anna was fine. I think I got annoyed with Anna when she would do healing stuff. Like at the end,
Yes.
she'd just constantly be like, "Okay, Karl. Okay, Karl. Okay,
I know,
Karl.
like, stop
okay,
saying
Karl."
that.
I'm like, stop saying his name. But
Yeah.
yeah. But I think it was just the way it was. But,
Yes.
like, and I was fine with it. But like, no, it was good. I liked that there was like actual French words, like because I could understand it. And I
Yes.
was sitting here thinking like,
Yeah.
oh, they put effort into like having actual French.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, the game
the
was
studio
developed-
is from Montpellier. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. So then at the same time, like there was a spot where there was like Indian soldiers.
Yes.
And they had a definitely
Like Simlish.
but it sounded like Abu from
Oh, no.
from The Simpsons.
Yeah, he did.
You know what I
Yes,
mean?
he did.
And I was
When you're setting the dynamite,
yes, the dynamite
in the cave.
and yeah, I'm
Yes, he did.
I'm not gonna mimic it. But I was
I'm not gonna make this poor choice
no,
right now.
But I listened to that and I was like, oh, that's kind of like I don't know what language that is. Is he speaking a language or is he just speaking gibberish with kind of an Indian accent?
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't
Yeah.
know the difference there. So it kind of took me a second to kind of think like, oh no, like it's French because they are French, but like
Yeah.
anything else, did they do it justice? I can't speak to
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. That's
yeah,
true.
I can't speak to that. So, but yeah.
But yeah, the music was fantastic.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
really made me happy.
And they did some cool stuff with like the visuals. Like it looked like a comic book at some point.
Yep.
They do like picture-in-picture stuff where there's like a comic pane
Yes.
that would pop
Yes.
out and be like, "There's something happening you need to
Yes.
know about that's happening." Like
It
when
happened a lot with the stealth sections where you would
Yes.
see something is
Yes.
coming and then you'd know from what direction it's coming and then you
Yeah.
have to jump to the
or
foreground.
you'd
or the
see like
background.
the guard in the guardhouse,
Yes.
and then you could tell that he was looking out the window with his gun,
Right.
And then you would see him go back into the
Change or,
guardhouse,
like, reload
and then
or
you'd be like,
something.
"Oh, now I can run across."
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So it
Then
plays
there's
well with
guardhouse
that kind of
off
stuff
in the
too.
distance. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So all in all, like a very interesting package, both audio,
visual,
and graphically,
story, and everything.
Yeah, visually, it was really good. I mean, I don't remember playing a game that looked quite like it.
No, yeah.
My husband called it trippy. He also only played trippy, which I was like, it's not trippy.
Yeah,
that's a bit of an overstatement.
What's that
it's not
mean?
like psychedelic
Did
or
he
anything.
explain?
He only plays. He has a very limited video game repertoire.
Yeah,
he plays sports games.
Oh,
the end.
That
is all.
So this is way outside. The
I
realm
have
of that.
made him play co-op games with me occasionally.
Yeah.
I'm like, sit down, you're going to play this game with me.
Yeah,
because I want you to. Other than that, he plays sports games. So he was like, "Huh, that's trippy." I'm like,
did he say this looks like South Park?
No.
Oh, is that what the comparison you're getting at?
I don't know.
No,
I wouldn't go there.
I would go Castle
There's a lot more
Crashers.
shading
Right.
than there is with
not
the
so
South
flat.
Park.
And the movement's different too.
But I think it's just because it's got that very flat, like papery kind of quality.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is very papery.
Yeah,
yes.
you know what I mean?
But yeah, I really, really enjoyed the animation.
Yeah,
I
for
thought
sure.
I always thought it was interesting to look at.
Yes.
Like at all stages,
Yep.
I enjoyed looking at it.
Even when
and
I'm looking
playing.
at a child crying over their dead parent in a city,
I was like,
this
that
is
looks
beautiful.
That looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
This looks like a postcard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts about Valiant Hearts before we close this one out?
I would say I liked playing it a lot. I enjoyed my time with it. Is it a game I would have chosen to play myself? No, which is why I like doing these games for this podcast, because it's like, hey, it's a game I never would have picked for myself,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
I liked that I played it. I liked that I got to do this podcast with you guys. So it's like I have a lot of positive feelings about it. Would I say like, hey, this is an amazing game? It's good. It's very good. There's a lot of good to it. Not totally my cup of tea, but like I liked it a lot.
Katie, what are your thoughts?
So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like, I was never like, oh, I have to play this game. It was never a chore.
Right.
I was like, oh, I'll play some Valiant Hearts. Like, I'll find it enjoyable. I'll see what the next level has, like what new things it has to offer in the next level.
I think you texted me at one point. You're like, I'm going to play some Valiant, because you were telling me about how stressed you were with your move and stuff like that. And you're like, I'm going to play some Valiant Hearts and it's going
Which
to
is
relax
odd
me.
because it's World War I and there's everyone's dying. And I'm like, I'm going to relax with some.
Yeah.
But it's very just relaxing
Yeah.
because you're just walking around, you're solving puzzles. Sometimes you're dodging some bombs.
Yeah.
But it's not like hyper intense action
Right.
where you're like, oh, this is super stressful.
Yeah.
There's a couple of the car chase things where you're dodging the bombs where I keep on dying.
Yeah.
And I was like,
But it's not stressful.
and it's not super long. Like, it wasn't stressful. So, no, I enjoyed it all. Like, I enjoyed listening to it. I enjoyed looking at it. The puzzles were, for the most part, simple enough that I was just like, oh, I'm just, like, going through this game and getting it done. So, yeah, overall, I liked it.
Yes.
It's not a game that I would be like, oh, my God, you have to play Valiant Hearts.
Right.
Because it's so good.
Right.
But I liked that I played it.
Same.
Like, I enjoyed all my time with it. And also the length of it is very appropriate for the game it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it was much longer, I'd be like, it just does not need to be this long.
Yeah.
But it was a perfect length where everything's new. It keeps it interesting
Yes.
for me. The characters with the gameplay. So, yeah, overall, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm with you both that
Yeah.
like I built this game up in my mind because I've been wanting to play it for
That's a rough
5
build up.
years.
Where did
And
you,
then you're like, no, this isn't
did
that.
you just like see this game and be like, this is what I want to
Yeah,
play?
I think I just wanted to play this game for many years.
Yeah.
and
Was
I
it like
never
the
did.
UbiArt thing?
Yeah, it was the UbiArt thing,
Okay.
and like I'm generally a fan of Ubisoft's games,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, this is a game that I probably want to play. And I put it on my list. You referred to like the top
God.
10
Yeah, forever
games
ago.
forever, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I was a little disappointed, but only because I'd built it up so
Right.
much. This
Right.
game is like, this is like the perfect 7.5. Like it is,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
a really great game. If you like history,
Yeah.
please play it. It's 5 hours, doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yep.
I just didn't love it. I tonally, I
So
had a
you
lot of issues with
expected
it.
to love it.
Well, I expected it to be like a more sad and impactful thing throughout
Right.
the
Yeah.
entire game. That's what I wanted. And for half of it, I got this like
See-
comic book tale of like, let's get Van Dorf, let's
Yeah.
get him.
I don't think I would want it to be that sad for the entire thing anyway, though. Like,
Maybe
I think
I'd
if
just
it
like
was
to-
super sad the whole time, I'd be like, oh, I'm playing this game.
But I
It's
see where
super
you're
sad.
coming from, though, where
Yes.
it's like, oh, he got away on his blimp again. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
And
There
he's
he
like-
goes on the zipline!
And he's like twisting his mustache as he's
Right.
laughing
Literally.
and soaring away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there's another game that I played that if anyone played Valiant Hearts after listening to this episode and is looking for a game that's kind of similar, The Lion Song, which is an adventure game that came out on PC, Switch. It's episodic, but it tells the story of a few characters in early 20th century Austria.
Okay.
So like if you're interested in that era, it's right before the First World War, but it like shares a lot of the same like period stuff.
Oh, okay.
So if you like this style of game and you're looking for something else, The Lion Song is something that you might be interested in.
Interesting.
So, there you go. There's my
Okay.
reco.
There you go.
Play that game.
Play that. Don't play this? No, don't
No,
play this.
this game is fine.
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
Yeah.
With
Caveats?
yes, I would be like, you'll like it. It'll be fun. It's this long. Play
easy.
it. It's fun. Like I enjoyed it. I wouldn't, but it's not like you have to play this game.
Right, yeah.
Do you like
totally.
adventure games? Consider it. Do
Yeah.
you like
Yes.
watching war documentaries? Consider it.
Yeah.
Do you like Tintin? Consider it.
Tintin.
Yeah.
Is
But-
that like super regional? I don't know how regional Tintin is.
I mean,
if
they
that's
made
a thing that only
Spielberg made a movie about Tintin.
yeah, but I don't
didn't
think
he?
anyone. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
think
that's
anyone
right.
went to see that movie.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie.
I don't think anyone did.
I just read the comics.
If we didn't see that movie,
I didn't see
then
that
nobody
movie,
saw
so
that
no
movie.
one saw that
Yeah.
movie. And
But-
we've seen a lot of movies.
So I always wonder. I'm like, do people know what? I don't know. Aside
know.
from like Southwestern Ontario, I don't know, and Quebec.
we are going to find out when we put this episode
yes,
out.
if people
and-
are like, what the hell?
People
Do you
is
know what
this?
Tintin is?
Yes, please comment.
Yes, in our Discord channel, which you can find at
Yes.
leftbehindgame.club.
I want to know.
You can go in there, and if you know what Tintin is, there's a channel about spoilers for the episodes.
Yes.
Just let us know if you know what Tintin is.
Other than it was once a Spielberg movie that you did not go see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Other
if you
than
know
that.
Tintin from other than that, you need to let us know.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then let us know what you think about this game
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Again, leftbehindgame.club. You can find all of that. You can find us on Twitter at leftbehindclub, on Instagram at leftbehindgameclub. And with that, gentleman and lady, I would like to close the show. Travis, if people want to find you, where can they do so?
I am on Twitter at Travis Colenutt. That's where you can find me talking about stuff.
Mostly X-Men
Mostly
spoilers,
X-Men
right?
related
Yeah.
stuff. Real hard right now.
Katie, where can people find you?
I mean, they can find me on Twitter. I'm more
Good
of a.
luck.
I'm a spectator. I don't engage. I'm not commenting left and right. But you can find me at Lesperag. It's Lesperak. I'm there. I'm watching
I'm
stuff.
present. I'm present.
I'm here on Twitter. Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
You can find me on the internet at Jacob McCourt or at jacobmccourt.com or in the Discord. And with that, my friends, that's one less game left behind.